Hey folks, Aaron here from Finctum Languages, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about that ever-present fear we have as language learners, which is finally when the time comes for us to speak our target language, either to a native speaker or to someone who's already fluent. If you've been learning a language for any period of time, I'm sure you know very well how nerve-wracking it can be to actually open your mouth and speak your target language. You're afraid of what people are going to think. You're afraid of making mistakes. You're afraid of having an accent. You're afraid of saying the wrong thing. And it can be terrifying, especially if you are already prone to anxiety and social pressures like that. And in this video, I'm going to give you one practical tip that can help take you through that fear and potentially turn it around and help you just start speaking and progressing through your target language without being hindered by that fear. But before I get into the bulk of this video, I want to just say a quick thanks to everyone who supports me on Patreon. That's Ian, Susan, Hillary, and Ryan. Thank you guys for supporting my channel. And if anyone else is interested in supporting the channel, you can check it out at patreon.com/finctum. In exchange for various perks and benefits that come along with being a Patreon patron. Anyways, what I wanted to talk today is about being able to speak your target language without fear. And that's one of the big things that hinders us from making progress because, like I say on this channel all the time, you can't progress in your language that you're learning without opening your mouth. Different experts have varying opinions on when you should start speaking. People like Benny Lewis say you should start speaking from day one. Other people like Steve Krashen says, first start doing input and reading, listening, get comfortable with the language first, and then eventually start speaking. But everyone agrees you have to speak the language. There's no way of getting around it. And it's amazing how common this fear is for people who don't want to speak the language. They say, no, I'm not ready. I want to keep using Duolingo. I want to keep using Link. I want to keep using Pimsleur. I want to use Babbel, Mango Languages, Anki, Memrise, whatever it is. I want to keep using Lingo Deer. You want to just keep learning in the privacy and the safety of your bedroom. Right? You want to scroll on your phone and learn, and you want to do the reading, and you want to memorize the grammar rules. The last thing you want to do is open your mouth and potentially expose yourself to humiliation in front of other people. The problem is you're not going to learn to communicate in your target language without interaction with other human beings. And the longer you put that off, the more you're just delaying the progress that you're going to start making in your target language. And like I say a lot, one of the number one things that you can do to start getting comfortable speaking your target language is rearrange your mindset. You have to come at it with a different attitude. Rather than being terrified of making a mistake in front of another person, you have to think about it as, I'm going to go in and I'm going to try to make mistakes. I'm going to go in knowing that mistakes are going to come flowing out of my mouth. Every sentence I say is going to have a mistake in it. Benny Lewis talks about something like, you should have a goal of making 200 mistakes a day. Don't try to avoid mistakes. Mistakes are your friend. And that's how you learn. So rather than trying to avoid it, what you do is you go into conversation already prepared to make mistakes. And you might want to warn people right up front. Listen, I'm new. I have only been speaking Greek for 3 months. And this is my first conversation. Be prepared for me to make a lot of mistakes. You can say that, and that's okay. As long as you are prepared to make lots of mistakes. Most people that I know, everyone who has ever had a conversation with me in my target languages, has been very kind. They're very helpful, and they understand that you're learning their language and that you're going to make mistakes, just in the same way that you probably understand when people make mistakes in your native language. And this reminds me a lot of a story that something that happened with my nephew a few months ago. He's not yet 3, and he went through this phase where he had this bizarre phobia of bugs. Now, most little boys, in my opinion, when they're around that age, are fascinated by bugs, right? And when I was his age, I was eating bugs because you're just little and you don't know. But my nephew was terrified of them. And that bothered me a little bit. I mean, it's not a big deal because children just are afraid of things, but I don't want my nephew to go through life being terrified of everything. So I thought, well, let's expose him to some bugs to show him that they're not all dangerous, especially not here in Wisconsin. We actually don't have any poisonous insects as far as I'm aware. So it's not a huge danger. It's more of a hindrance to your life. You can't go through life terrified of bugs. They're everywhere. So, I got a little ant and I showed it to him, and he was scared of that. He doesn't even want to touch an ant. So in order to ease him into this exposure of confronting his fear, what I did was I took a Sharpie and I just drew a little bug on my hand. Like a little insect with 6 legs. There I have some notes from my Greek lesson earlier today. Just a little bug with 6 legs. And I said, "Hey buddy, look at my bug. Isn't it cute?" And he saw me draw it on there. He's not 3 yet, so he was entertained by my little bug and he thought it was cool. And then I said, "Can I draw a little bug on you?" And then I did, and I just gave him just the tiniest little dot and the tiniest little legs on his bug. But he thought it was awesome. He ran and he showed his mom and dad. He says, "Mom, look at my bug. Dad, look, I have a bug." And everyone said, "That's great. That's a good bug." And now, of course, we want to teach him to be wary of poisonous bugs. But I wanted to bring him past that fear of bugs and help expose him in an easy way, gradually, as opposed to throwing him into a pit of bugs or something like an Indiana Jones movie to begin with. You don't just jump right into it. There's ways of easing into that. Now, how does this relate to language learning? Well, to some extent, as soon as you can start speaking your target language, you should. I try not to delay that at all. I want to start speaking right away, so I'll hire an italki tutor or someone like that who will just speak the target language with me. And if you can do that, I recommend it. If you have the personality type that allows you to, or if you can even push yourself in that direction to start speaking as quick as possible. You want to expedite that as much as feasible in order to start your language learning right away. There are just some people, though, I'm finding as I do this, as I do tutoring and online lessons in Spanish, French, English, there are just some people who just can't bring themselves to jump into a conversation right away. And there are some things you can do to ease yourself into it, just like I eased my nephew into kind of confronting his fear of bugs. All right, but the one thing you don't do is just say, "Well, I'm not a speaking person," or "I'm just not ready yet, and I don't plan on being ready anytime soon." The longer you keep putting it off, it's just so easy to put things like that off. You say, "I'll start talking next month," and then "I'll start talking next month," and then, "Well, it didn't work the last 2 months, so maybe I'll start talking 2 months from now, or 6 months from now," and you just keep putting it off. That's the wrong attitude to have. You want to jump in to speaking quickly, in my opinion. And if you are one of these people who just gets a lot of anxiety from the idea of speaking with someone else, speaking with a stranger, there are some ways that you can ease into that. And the number one thing I recommend for you to do, here's the one practical tip, is download an app called Hello Talk. This is an app that allows you to meet other people who speak your target language as their native language, and they speak your native language as their target language, or they're learning your native language as their target language. And there's lots of competitor apps like this, such as Tandem. There's some websites like Interpels. And then there's some language exchanges on Reddit and on Benny Lewis's site, things like that. There's other ways of finding people, but any of those are fine if you have some other app or website that you want to use. But my favorite is called Hello Talk, and you can get it on Android or on iPhone devices, iOS devices. And this is essentially, it's very similar to a Facebook type app. Excuse me. So you're going to be able to meet a lot of people on there, and you sign up for what your native language is and the language that you're learning. And you're going to be able to find people who speak your target language, and you'll be able to post statuses. On Hello Talk, they're actually called moments, and you can post about anything you want. It's just a social website that happens to facilitate language exchanges. You can post about your day, about things that you've been reading, things that you're interested in. You can post anything you want. And you'll be able to read posts from other people. It kind of shows up there on your wall, posts from other people who speak your target language. And if you're the kind of person who just can't bring yourself, even on some app that's not very personal, if you can't bring yourself to jump into speaking your target language, you can at least speak your native language. You can get to know some people on the app who are learning your native language, and you can talk to them in that. There's going to be a lot of people who will be very grateful for you to help them learn your language. So you can go on and comment on some people's statuses. Hey, you're doing great. Hey, I'm a native speaker of English, or I'm a native speaker of Spanish, or whatever it is. And you can tell them, hey, you're doing great. You can give them some constructive criticism if they ask for that. You can say, hey, your Spanish is great, but let me just give you some pointers here. Here's how you can improve your accent, and things like that. You don't want to constantly stay in your native language, though, right? The point here is to start to build up the confidence to speaking your target language with someone. But if you need to, you can use your native language at first, just to get to know some of the people on the website, make a few relationships, make a few contacts, do a little bit of networking with them, start to get comfortable with some other people. And once you find one or two pals, like pen pals that you feel comfortable chatting with, and you can message back and forth for a while, then you might tell them, hey, just so you know, I'm also learning your language. Would you mind speaking your language to me? And then I'll speak to you in English, or I'll speak to you in my native language. You speak in your native language, and then we can talk back and forth to each other. That sort of removes the fear of making mistakes when you're speaking your target language, right? Because you're still speaking your native language. They're speaking their native language, and so you have to read your target language. And if you do voice messages, then you have to listen to your target language. But there's not this fear of making mistakes. And then once you go back and forth a little bit like that, then you make the switch to, hey, listen, now that we've both spent some time speaking our target language, or speaking our native languages, and reading our target languages, let's swap it. How about I speak Spanish to you, I speak my target language to you, and then you speak English back to me. You speak my native language, and then I can help you if you make any mistakes, and you can help me if I make any mistakes. So it's a gradual progression leading into that. And this whole time, all you've been doing is exchanging text messages. That's not as intimidating as talking to someone. because you can look up words you don't know. If they say something to you, you can look that up. There's an automatic translate function on the app. There's a transliteration function. And there's also a correction function built into the app that you can leave little corrections for when they type something to you or when you type something to them. You can prepare what you're going to say to them, though, in advance, then type it in and then send it. So it removes a certain level of stress from the process of communicating over the app. Then once you've done that for a while, you can send voice messages to each other, and that's still not very stressful because you hit record, you record your message, then you hit stop, and you can listen to it. If you've made any mistakes or if you just aren't comfortable with anything, you don't like the way your voice sounds, you can delete it and start over. Again, I always say you should be comfortable with your mistakes, but this is just for those people who can't bring themselves to take that step. If you need to ease yourself into it, then you might have to take this whole long process. Otherwise, I recommend just going in and speaking to the people as quickly as you can. So if you've gone through this whole process so far and you're now messaging back and forth in your target language and you're sending voice messages in your target language and you've become comfortable with that. At first it was terrifying, but you gradually eased yourself in. You dipped your toe and then you dipped your other toe and then you waded into the waters and then you found out it's not as scary as you originally thought. Then you say to your other language exchange partner, you say, hey, now that we're comfortable sending voice messages to each other, how about a Skype? Let's Skype for 15 minutes. Let's have a Google Meets, a Zoom meeting for 5 or 10 minutes. And it doesn't have to be long. If you're terrified of having a voice call with someone, say let's talk for 5 minutes. It doesn't even have to be a video chat. It could just be an audio call if you're intimidated or if you're anxious about that. So all of this process is designed to get you speaking. And like I've been saying, you want to do that as quick as possible. If you're a confident person, naturally, you might be able to skip through the whole process and just find someone that will talk to you on a video chat. And you're just comfortable blundering through and using circumlocution and making lots of mistakes and being okay with that. And you're not anxious or you're not nervous at all about doing that. Other people, just depending on your personality, you might have to take this long, drawn-out approach. But the important thing is to have an end in mind. And the end should be, I'm eventually going to start speaking my target language. Because if you never start, you'll never learn. So that's all I have to share with you guys today. Hopefully you are able to take this process and learn something from it and apply it. And I don't have anything else to say, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.